Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Kim, and I hope you are having a fabulous day. If you are interested in true crime like I am, I hope that you would consider hitting that subscribe button. But either way, thanks for being here. Today we have a horrible Christmas story in honor of the holidays. Holidays really bring out the worst in people. Well, it sure did in Anthony Milan Ross. Anthony went by his middle name, Milan Ross. He was a celebrity vegan chef turned, well, let's just get into it. This case involves another crimey story with topics such as abuse, and this case does involve children as well. Please click out of this video if this is not for you. I completely understand. Milan Ross was born in St. Louis, Missouri. He was 38 years old at the time in 2017. He is known mostly because of his vegan cookbooks, but he also was a motivational speaker. He was featured on a few TV shows, but he also had a YouTube channel. Here is a clip of him just so you can get a vibe of who he is.
Hey, what's up? This is Milan Ross, and I wanted to talk to you guys today. I'm at home after a long travel stint. Back here behind me on the stove, I have a pot of what I call drunken sailor stew. With that being said, guys, I want to talk to you about something that I'm doing, and I want to challenge all of you guys to do it as well. I'm doing something called a 90-day impact. Now, you may ask yourself, what does a 90-day impact mean, really? Basically, I'm taking things that I would like to change about myself, and over the next 90 days, I'm making it so that I make it every day. I'm doing those necessary changes for the full 90 days. Now, for each person, it's going to be different. So if you say you want to quit smoking, maybe that's your 90-day impact, and you go 90 days without smoking. Or if you want to exercise on a regular basis, whatever it is that you would like to change in your life, I'm challenging you to join me on this 90-day impact. Let today, or let's say tomorrow since it's so late, be day one for you. Now, some of the things that I am doing is I wanted to make sure that as I move forward, I made my bed every day. Traveling every day, or traveling as much as I do, that wasn't something that I did. And then I saw a very interesting speech by a retired colonel that talked about how impactful that could be. And that's something that I've been doing now for several days, making sure that every day I'm doing the Navy tuck on the sheets, and it's something that I'm going to do every day for the next 90 days.
Apparently, making his bed was a weakness that invoked this challenge. What we will find out is that Milan, he didn't like to reveal his weaknesses. Instead, he lived by not disclosing the truth, but rather he liked to smack a smile on his face and call it a day. But before he had big dreams of making his bed every day, he was 518 pounds, who changed to a vegan lifestyle and lost 300 pounds. He created a brand around this, and he was even featured in a documentary with celebrities like Samuel L. Jackson and James Cameron. He was on the cover of Vegan magazine with his family and was also on the Doctor TV show, amongst many other TV appearances. Here's a clip.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Milan Ross, and I am taping with the list. I have a supermodel here with me today, which is crazy. We're about to show you guys how to make some amazing food, from shrimp po' boys to bacon cheeseburgers to the most amazing chicken salad you've ever had. All of this and more. And you guys gotta watch. It's gonna be on the list next Thursday. Check it out.
What he said.
I like that.
Other than his cookbooks, he had self-help book called The Change, discussing his journey, and that was actually his first book. The book describes how Milan started his shift to a vegan lifestyle after he started working for Whole Foods. So it was the year 2012, and Ross got the job at Whole Foods grocery store. He was described by other employees as a very charismatic person who could be a bit over the top. He seemed fake. He never had a bad day. A section of Whole Foods sold books. Whole Foods then in turn had partnerships with the authors of the books that they sold. As an incentive for the Whole Foods employees, they would send them to these seminars or programs where these authors would speak about cooking, nutrition, healthy living. This is where Ross met Dr. Stahl. Dr. Stahl was big into plant-based living and a vegan diet. Ross implemented Dr. Stoll's practices into his life, and in the first week, he lost 30 pounds. Excited to finally find something that was working for himself, he stuck with it. And after 3 months, he lost 70 pounds. While this was going on, Ross was married to his wife, Iris. They were married in Houston, Texas. They had their son, Nigel. They moved to Colorado. They actually lived in an upscale neighborhood called Highlands Ranch, Colorado. And you're asking yourself, how is he working at Whole Foods and living in a wealthy area? Well, this is because his wife was the breadwinner of the household. This is also where Whole Foods was located as well, in this nice area. An employee of Ross would say that most employees would drive from other areas or lived with their parents, but not many actually lived in the Highlands Ranch area. Whole Foods was not the highest paying job, so Ross would flaunt this, and he wanted to make sure everybody knew that he lived in the area and that he drove a fancy SUV, and on his days off, he would bring his wife and son into Whole Food and shop for hours, the employees would say. Like, look at me, my family's filling their cart with, your paycheck worth of groceries here in our cart. The employees would go on to say that Ross would invite the employees over to his house for these little parties. He would invite 20-year-olds over to drink and smoke a little wacky tobacco. But what was even more strange than that is this married grown man inviting 20-year-olds to come over and party. He wouldn't partake in the partying. Nothing like inviting a bunch of people over to your house to party and you don't party. This coworker would say she believed it was just to show off his lifestyle and he needed to be liked and that validation from his coworkers. So from there, his successful weight loss journey began. He co-authored a book with Dr. Stahl, and Whole Foods was over the moon excited because of he was a success story. But what they were not excited about is that Ross's register would be off on so many occasions that he would actually get a written warning for it. Ross would be shocked that anybody would ever accuse him of stealing because, look at my life, I don't need to steal money. How dare you question me? Type of mentality. He then proceeded to get into a heated argument with the female manager, which she saw so much anger from Ross that she was actually scared. She just wanted to end the conversation with him. Here's this, 6'2", 225-pound man yelling at her, and it just made her feel really uncomfortable. But not many saw that side of Ross. It wasn't long after this incident that Ross decided to leave Whole Foods. Even with that going on at Whole Foods, he was on talk shows, in the news. He had a huge success story. He was really enjoying the limelight. He would focus on a situation that happened between him and his son that happened at Universal Studios during his appearances and part of his book. Well, I think it's fair to say it was part of his whole brand. What happened is that he and his son could not go on the Harry Potter ride together on his son's birthday because he was too large to fit. So he lost all the weight and went back to that ride with his son. Here is a clip of that.
3.5 years ago, he weighed more than 500 pounds. He claims he decided to make a change for his son, Nigel.
He started crying. In that moment, I learned that the decisions I was making didn't just affect me.
Ross losing more than half his body weight. 3 months ago, posting this video to social media of him and his son celebrating his weight loss at a theme park.
How was that?
That was amazing.
I used to have to sit in a chair in the middle of our yard, to play catch with my son.
He returned to go on that ride after 4 years. And it's an amazing story. He would say that weight loss strengthened his relationship with his son. He said that his son looked at him as his hero now, which makes this man even more of a monster. But let's continue. From there was the rise. This extended into cookbooks being published, more TV appearances, motivational speaking. He and his family then decided to move from Colorado over to Phoenix, Arizona. Ross was hustling, but he really wasn't, rolling in the dough. But his wife, Iris, worked at a surgery center as an administrator and was bringing in over $100K a year. Even though he was working with producers of The Biggest Loser to launch a new TV show centered on how to get people on track with their weight loss, nothing was quite launched yet. Everything was in the works, it seems like. Well, he did launch a food line called Full Flavor Vegan, and he was, kind of on his way. Well, what happened next is Iris, his wife, gets pregnant with their daughter, Honora. After so many years, I'm not sure what the story was if she couldn't get pregnant, but it was 10 years gap in between the two children. But whatever it is, after Honora was born, problems within the relationship came to light between Ross and Iris. They would soon file for divorce after Nora was born. They had been married for 8 years in June of 2017 when the papers were filed for the divorce. The divorce papers would state that the marriage was broken beyond repair and there was no chance of them getting back together. But you see, when they moved to Phoenix, Iris also was promoted in her career, working as now a director of administration at a surgery center. The divorce stated she actually had to pay Ross support money of over $750 a month. He was bringing in just over $30K, where she was bringing in over $150K. It seemed like he was bringing in more than he was, but he really wasn't. So now Iris and Ross are now separated. Iris and the two kids move into an apartment with a female friend of Iris as a roommate. She met this friend at a spiritual retreat of some sort and became really good friends. To outsiders, the divorce seemed to be fairly smooth. There were no huge fights that anyone else saw. The two agreed on joint custody and were co-parenting alongside each other, apparently in the beginning. Then something changed in Ross. So much so, he started threatening Iris. The sister of Iris stated that he slowly was coming unhinged, a gradual progression of anger towards Iris. The sister would say that one minute he is calling her and calling her a whore, and then on the next, he is professing his love for her and how he wanted to get back together with her and how he wanted to be a family unit again. He was just bouncing back and forth. He couldn't make up his mind. Then he would also say he's working with a voodoo priest out of New Orleans to put a hex on her. If someone tells you that, I'm working with the priest to put a hex on you, how do you respond to that? Iris's roommate had a few things to say that lined up with the sister's comments that Ross's harassment of Iris was increasing in the past 2 weeks prior to the incident. She calls him to come pick up the kids, and he has a handgun. He said he's carrying it for protection. It's one thing if he's always carried a gun, but to show up one day gun-toting, I mean, come on, I'm sure she was concerned. Iris, by all accounts, said that she was just a positive person. Her roommate would continue to say that Iris believed that most everyone is honest and good in the world, including her ex-husband, that he would do the right thing for the children despite any issues that they had together. It seemed that she didn't express any real concern about the children, that she thought maybe her own safety was at risk, but never the children. He didn't really give her a reason to think otherwise. Nobody could say that. He was focused on having them grow up with healthy living so that they in turn would have a healthy adulthood. But the relationship between Iris and Ross continued as the I love you, I hate you from Ross. But they were working it out with the kids. They were not really involving the court during this process. Rather, they were working together to make it work. So they agreed between the two of them that he would have the kids on Christmas Eve and she would have them on Christmas Day. So that is exactly what happened. Ross went over on Christmas Eve, picked up the two children, went back to his house, and had a great day. He is seen in one of his Instagram, Facebook posts, he put it to both, singing Christmas songs with his son Nigel in the evening. His account is still active, by the way. Here is a clip.
Hey guys, smiling and I'm hanging out with Nigel on Christmas Eve. And we're about to embarrass ourselves. We're gonna sing. You ready?
Yeah.
Me. Okay, sorry. You better watch out.
You better not cry.
You better not pout.
I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Dope, dope, dope.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Santa Claus is coming to
town. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Christmas Day comes and Iris apparently calls Ross and the conversation was fine. It's not exactly known what was said, but a listener, the roommate, said that they were just discussing the trade-off. No arguments, nothing. Ross wanted to keep the kids for a couple more hours, stating that the 10-month-old Honora was fighting a cold and he wanted her to sleep just for a little bit longer. Iris agreed, with him without any incident. Although Iris was excited to spend Christmas with them, she was putting together a dinner party for 20 people. So she was extremely busy setting up for the evening events, cooking, and, doing all that. So it worked out for him to keep the kids a little bit longer. It wasn't a big deal. It was not a fight. So a couple hours go by and a few people have shown up to Iris's house and start, the festivities. So she calls Ross to let him know she was on her way to pick up the kids. The other people stated they overheard her side of the conversation and she didn't give off any clues that there were any issues. She wasn't arguing. Iris shows up to pick up the kids around 3 p.m. and the unexpected occurred that Christmas. Allegedly, because this hasn't gone to trial yet, Ross shot Iris outside of his apartment. Two witnesses that happened to walk up after the shots seen Ross rummaging through Iris's pockets. The witnesses asked if she was okay and did he need help, and what Ross does is he flashes his gun at them and says no. When Ross heard sirens, he ran into the house and barricaded himself inside with his two children. Honora and Nigel had no choice but to stay inside. Ross is out of his mind. He begins a 6-hour standoff with the police, with gunfire going back and forth from both the officers and Ross firing back. The officers knew that there were children present in the apartment, so they were being cautious as they possibly could, considering they were literally being shot at. Ross keeps changing his story with the negotiator because they did get a line of communication, and he was telling the negotiator that if they came in, he was going to take the children out. He was using the kids as a way out of his mess. Iris has clearly been shot by him. He knows that the only way to hold off and not go to jail right away was his children. So 6.5 hours later, the police are growing tired of this and sent a robot into his apartment. This robot had a camera that picked up that Honora was no longer alive, at only 10 months old. They believe Ross shot her. So special forces, assuming that Nigel most likely was in the same condition as his sister, they decided to go in and defuse the situation. One of the officers was injured in the gunfight. He was hit with shrapnel from a shot, but they were able to overpower Ross, and that is when they found 11-year-old son Nigel's lifeless body inside as well. Like how? How could he do this to his children? I do not understand. He went from this video.
Hey guys, this is Milan and Nigel. We are backstage at the TV show The Doctors. We're so excited. You excited this morning, buddy?
I'm incredibly excited.
Man, we are hanging out in the back lot of
Hollywood.
Paramount Studios, and we have the best guide ever to be on the face of the planet. She's just giving us a walk around. Nigel, are you excited to be hanging out, man? Hey guys, it's Milan, and I got my new road dog, if you will, my son Nigel. Say hi, buddy.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Milan, and I'm here with my son Nigel. Say hi.
How you doing?
Guys, we are sitting at the Sky Harbor Airport on our way to Los Angeles, California. So if you're in LA, good morning, it's Milan, and I finished my morning workout. Today's was arms. Wow, it was brutal. Getting my laps in this morning. I have a companion this morning. My son Nigel has decided to join me, and we're gonna get our laps in. I hope everybody's getting up and getting active.
With his son to this, a 10-month-old baby? At this point, I am to the point of just wanting to know why. What happened? The only clue we have is coming from Iris's sister, who said Ross sent her 2 text messages. The first one read, "I killed Iris and the kids." The second one read, "with a gun." Although I want to know what drove him to do what he did, but what was the point of him saying "with a gun"? He didn't think she believed him or something? With a gun, like, why was that even necessary? Was he thinking in that moment, I should be more specific? With a gun. The sister would say she knew he had a dark side to him, but she would never have believed it was that dark. So news is going around like crazy about what happened that day. A few more things about good old Milan Ross came to light. He had a few dark secrets. Ross attended a theater camp, and a few of the teachers that were at this camp could really tell that there was something going on with Ross, that something wasn't right with his home life. And his family couldn't afford to keep him in the camp for the additional 4 weeks that they wanted him to stay. So what the teachers did is they offered the family a scholarship. And so he was able to stay in this camp for another 4 weeks. Little is known about Ross's childhood, only speculation. Hopefully the trial will explain a few things, but a bigger secret would come to light, which is from 2 girls that came forward and said that they were the daughters of Ross, that he had abandoned them years before. Their names were Ebony Ross and Shalonda Ross. They would go on to say that they were abandoned in 2013 in Missouri by Ross. Not just them, though. There were 2 more sisters. Yes, he had 4 children. So he is married and has 4 children, and he just leaves and never comes back and is never heard of. Divorce records show that his ex-wife, Nicole Ross, the mother of the 4 children, filed for divorce in 2008. He was a no-show to the court hearings, and so the divorce was granted, but he just never showed up. The oldest child, Ebony, would say that she had nightmares recalling the days she had to stay home from school because of the bruises she received, and she had to wait for them to heal by the hands of her dad. The second oldest child, Shalandra, said that him talking about eating healthy was a reminder to the days that he would withhold food from her in a form of punishment. And that's dark. They said they had moved past the abuse with ongoing counseling. That this man with his son Nigel in this clip is not the man they knew or recognized as the same person. He clearly had buried his darkness deep inside him until whatever in the world happened on that Christmas day in 2017. Iris apparently did not know about the previous family or the ex-wife or this 4 children, and it was said that he left that family for Iris. Iris and Ross would marry in 2009, but she would find out 7 years into the marriage. I'm sure when she found out, she looked at him and didn't even know who he was. I almost wonder if this was the breakdown of the marriage. I feel like that would be a deal breaker for most families. So the daughters that Ross abandoned reached out to Iris after their divorce and told her about their experiences and their abuse from Ross. So Iris apparently was in the process to file for full custody instead of the earlier agreed upon joint custody. You wonder if a light bulb turned on for Iris about things she may have questioned, like little things that she thought were just a bit off, as she thought maybe things, that just happened. It's not a big deal, just that happened. But when you look at the big picture, maybe it was like, oh man, he could be a dangerous man. But unfortunately, we will never know Iris's side of things. Iris and her 2 beautiful children are no longer here to tell it. When I did research on Ross, the description of a narcissist came up all over, like over and over again. The fact that he took their lives but didn't take his own is the most shocking of it all. I thought for sure that this story would end, with him ending himself. But no, he's arrested, and guess what this man pleads? If you said not guilty, you would be right. Come on. At his first bond hearing, he is held on no bond. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 19 counts of aggravated assault on an officer, and 1 count of discharging a firearm in city limits. $16,000 was raised within a GoFundMe for the funeral of the 3 victims. Iris's brother raises money to collect food to donate to an organization called Healthy City Initiative in Midland, Texas, to help the disadvantaged youth. He does this in honor of his sister and his niece and nephew. I don't think I've talked about food more in any case. This case just has food, losing weight, diets. His brother's donating to food. He withheld food. It's like food is like everywhere in this story. But what he's doing is an awesome thing. I'm going to link it in the description, and I'm also going to donate money to it. Well, Ross has been locked up since that day, and with everything in the world that's happening, his next court date isn't until February 22nd of 2022, a couple of months from now. But it's been over 4 years since this has happened. No need for a speedy trial for this guy. He's not going anywhere. I'm interested to hear what his defense strategy will be. There is talk of him possibly going to be charged and receive a punishment of the death penalty, possibly. But this case has been really quiet for a while now, so not sure if unreported things have been happening, but I just don't know about them because they're not being reported. If I hear anything, I'll update the comment section with a pinned comment, or if it warrants a new video, I'll do one as well. Rest in peace, the Ross family. I hope you are all resting peacefully together. Whew, this was a rough one. Have you guys heard of this case? It was recommended to me and I had never heard about it before, and I was shocked. For as popular and accomplished as this guy is, nobody's talking about him. Thanks to all my channel members who continue to support me. Their names are on the screen. If you would like early access to new videos or decide the cases I cover next, you can do that by clicking the join button. Well, if you guys have made it to the end, you guys are rock stars and I love you to death. There are more true crime videos in my Captured Killers playlist if you would like to check them out. But either way, stay safe, my loves, and remember, if you see something, say something. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.